In episode 2, Terry introduces the new senseis to all of the students, but he does state that not all of the senseis are going to be there. It's more of a job tryout. As he's explaining this, Tori walks in. She's late, but Terry excuses it because she is a champion, although she doesn't have her trophy with her. She's pretty conflicted about whether to bring it in or not, knowing what she knows regarding Terry Silver and the referee. When it comes time for the class to actually start and for the students to warm up with the new senseis, Chosen takes Tori aside. He starts pushing her to be better, saying that she doesn't want to train because she's now a champion, but more importantly, teaching her about honor, how no one can take it from you, but you can take it from yourself. Terry comes over and oversees this lesson, but Terry's not familiar with Chosen yet, and when he asks him his name, Chosen doesn't say his name's Chosen, he says his name is Joe. He's then pretty impressed about what he's able to get out of Tori. He pulls Chosen aside and starts asking him where he's from. And out of all of the new senseis, he seems to connect with Chosen the best, which is good for Chosen and Daniel's plan. After class, he even invites Chosen to his house for drinks because he wants to know how he ended up in the valley teaching karate. He gives Chosen his information and Chosen heads out. He then starts walking back onto the mat, but Tori stops him. She has to address the elephant in the room. Why he paid to make her champion. He doesn't totally own up to it, though. He says that he paid off the ref to make sure that Cobra Kai won, but Tori still won the fight. And at the end of the day, everybody in the valley knows that she's champion. She still doesn't really like what she's hearing, and he tries to explain that what he did was an act of survival. Cobra Kai survival. And if a person steals food to survive, is that really stealing in the end? But he also tells her, I want you to be here, but if you choose to leave, I'm not going to hold it against you. But if you come back tomorrow, I'll make you the future of this dojo. So Tori definitely has a lot to think about. Terry then heads home, and later that day, Chosen shows up. He did get a pep talk from Daniel about what to expect, telling him he's got to keep his guard up because Terry Silver is very conniving and very convincing. Eventually, Terry's going to figure them out, and when he does, Chosen has to be ready to fight. When Chosen gets to Terry's house, the first thing Terry does is pour them both some whiskey. They then start getting into how Chosen got into the valley. He tells Silver that he was planning on retiring until he saw the advertisement needing senseis. They start getting into who trained him, and then that morphs into rivalries. And Silver reveals that he also has a rival. It's Daniel LaRusso. After dinner, Terry then starts showing Chosen some of his old Japanese swords. But what really surprises Terry is the fact that Chosen tells him he doesn't even know if he wants the job. Terry's thought he's built this empire that everybody would want to be at, and now he's got a guy in front of him telling him, maybe not. Chosen asks Silver, what is your true ambition? And Terry tells him that he's already the largest dojo in the valley, but he's got bigger ambitions than that. He wants to send Cobra Kai's message all over the world. He's got a plan to make Cobra Kai and karate as synonymous as Starbucks and coffee. When Chosen asks him, what is this plan? Silver says, that's something I'm comfortable confiding in my right-hand man, if you will take the job. Chosen says yes, and then the two have a toast, where Chosen says a Japanese saying that Terry definitely recognizes. But the next day when he walks in, he runs into Tori, who is just leaving. She's decided to return to the dojo, but she was told by Silver that there's no class. Chosen is also surprised by this. He actually thinks he's early, but Terry says you're actually right on time. Then Terry gives a whistle, and Chosen is surrounded by the other senseis. Terry Silver was able to figure out who Chosen was, and the thing that he said during the toast was what gave it away. Chosen, pretending to be Joe, said that he was from Kyoto. But everybody that Silver's met from Kyoto says the same thing when toasting, and it's not what Chosen said. He started looking at his background and figured out who he was. Silver then instructs the senseis that anybody who takes Chosen out will get the job. But Chosen kicks all of their asses. Right before he leaves the dojo, he looks at Silver and says, now we draw a line. No more expansion. No more senseis. No more challenges to Miyagi-Do. And you won't come near the LaRusso family. If you cross that line, you will beg for mercy. And then he leaves. It's also pretty eventful down in Mexico. Miguel ended up staying the night at Hector's. And he finds out that Luis isn't actually Hector's child. Luis is his wife's child from a previous marriage. He starts telling Miguel how he almost had kids. He was married once early on, but then she left. This is a little bit of a depressing topic, so Hector changes it and says, you know what, Miguel, I'm going out later. You got to come with me. You got to leave Mexico with some kind of stories. And Miguel, who still hasn't told Hector that he's his child, says yes because he just wants to spend some time with his dad. Right before they head out, though, Miguel calls his mom, saying, "You lied to me. He doesn't even know I exist, and he's not this bad dude that you made him out to be." She tries to explain herself, but Hector walks in and interrupts the phone call, and Miguel hangs up and the two head out to the club. As they go out, Carmen, who is still worried sick, calls up Johnny. Despite his best efforts, Johnny doesn't really have any leads. But luckily, Carmen does have one. She explains to Johnny that Miguel is with his dad, and he doesn't understand what kind of danger he's actually in. Luckily, she overheard Hector say they were going to some place called El Hoyo Verde. So Robbie puts it in the GPS, and Johnny and Robbie head over there. And El Hoyo Verde is like a bar/nightclub/MMA arena. Right away as he walks in, Hector is greeted by one of the fighters. His name's Vicente, but he's actually Eric Anders from the UFC. Just had to point that out. Hector introduces the two. Turns out the guy that actually fights in the UFC is the headline fight that night. Who would have thought? Vicente then says he has to go off and get ready for the fight, and Hector tells him second round max. It's become obvious to Miguel that Hector is very well known at this place. Hector admits that, yeah, he made a lot of money back in the day, but not in the restaurant business. The kind of business where you make a lot of friends in high places, but you also make a lot of enemies too. But hey, that's the past, and that's behind him. They then grab some tequila and just start watching the fights. But not too long later, Hector gets word that these two Americans are looking for him, and they're pretty sure that the Americans are working for the FBI. That's because both Johnny and Robbie are wearing matching shirts that say FBI, but on the back of it, it says Female Body Inspector. If you're just looking at the two, though, it's blazoned FBI. The Female Body Inspector part's on the back, so they don't really know the difference. And when Hector gets word that the FBI might be looking for him in the club, he gets spooked. He thinks that it was Miguel. He thinks Miguel is a rat, and the person who he's talking to on the phone must be his contact. He doesn't believe Miguel when Miguel says, "I was talking to my mom." And he even takes Miguel's phone and starts looking through the call log, looking through the pictures. It turns out Miguel is a literal teenager from California. Hector apologizes, but then as he looks down across the octagon, there he sees Robbie and Johnny wearing the FBI stuff, and he tells Miguel, let's get out of here. Johnny and Robbie see Miguel leaving, and they go after him, but they're stopped by Vicente and his trainers. They get into a fight where Johnny has to fight dirty, because MMA is mixed martial arts. Karate is literally one of those arts, so if this were legit, Vicente would kick the crap out of him, but Johnny ends up getting the best of him, and they're able to get out of there and continue to go after Miguel. Miguel, though, is with Hector, and they're in an empty storefront. Miguel seems a little spooked, and he tells Hector, "We should probably get you home," but he's surprised when Hector says, "No, I'm going to lay low a few days, maybe a week or two." When Miguel brings up his wife, Hector says she'll be fine. She's only with me for my money anyway. He then starts bashing women, and in particular, bashing Miguel's mom and his grandmother, not realizing who Miguel is. He finally sees what Carmen was talking about, that Hector's not a good guy. He decides to leave, and he never once tells Hector who he actually is. As soon as he steps outside, he calls his mom, and he starts crying and apologizing. But that's when he sees Robbie and Johnny pull up. He tells his mom, "I'm coming home." And he gives Johnny a big hug. He's not even mad when he sees Robbie. He's just happy to see some friendly faces. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry. It'll be up in a day or two.